We are live worldwide with Alan Steinfeld. Welcome, everyone, to Zeta Global Radio. I am your host, Lainey Savante Wolkin, and that is Alan Steinfeld here to talk about
my book.
Making Contact.
Yes.
What a book. Wow. This almost, well, let me just give a little bit of a background. Because,
Please do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to read your whole bio. I'm going to read parts of your bio because there's, parts of it I want you to share. But
right.
Alan is a contributor and curator of this collection of essays that are going to open you to new levels. That's for sure.
New realities.
New realities. Because ever since his own alien contact in 1987, he's been obsessed. Would you say obsessed?
I would say obsessed is a good word for it, yes.
Okay. With the topic, gathering hundreds of books and attending conferences worldwide. I actually know Alan way back from a film that he produced and I showcased. Over the past years, he's been one of the main MCs at the largest UFO gathering in the world, Contact in the Desert. I know a lot of people know about this event. I've never been there. I've been involved with MUFON. I helped promote that at one point. He's produced several films, 2 feature-length documentaries on UFOs, The Hidden Hand, phenomenal short film, and Calling All Earthlings, which I'm going to go check out as well. And he has produced and hosted New York City cable program New Realities for more than 25 years. Are you still doing that?
Yes, I am. I'm doing it every single week.
Oh, my goodness. Interviewing leaders in the fields of health, spirituality, and consciousness. I understand that. Such guests like Deepak Chopra, Marianne Williamson, Ram Dass, Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, and hundreds of others. And this is my favorite part of your bio. He feels that only when the inner explorations of the soul are combined with outer adventures of the mind can we achieve as planetary beings a harmonious understanding of ourselves in relation to the greater cosmos.
Right? Isn't that like what we're trying to do here?
I think that's it.
Come into balance. Isn't that what making contact is? You're making contact with yourself. The inner and the outer, then it doesn't matter who's out there or not.
Well, I would say interview over because you've said it all in that one quote. But, I love quotes. And it seems that a lot of times when I'm doing interviews, I'm grabbing quotes. But that quote and I grabbed a few others, but that quote with Deepak Chopra's quote, and I have to just say it because I see why you two are so in alignment. Humans only think of what is good for me and mine without realizing that me and mine is entangled with all of existence. We cannot separate the earth from its greater cosmic environment.
That, even though Deepak said that, he still says everything is consciousness, but I say everything's environment. Everything is ecologies of mind, greater ecologies, greater possibilities, right? Do you live in like a city or a state or a country or a planet? It's like all of those are true.
I like to say the cosmos. Do you have fans walking by or friends?
I do have some fans walking by.
I love that.
I like to just wave to some people.
I love that. Well, you have a lot of fans who are going to be watching this.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm glad you picked out that quote by Deepak because the quote, the part he says before that is about the new story of humanity, right? Mm-hmm. Do you see that? Mm-hmm. And this is what I'm hoping to communicate, the fact that we're entering a new time that's different than the previous 5,000 years of atrocities and warfare and awful holocausts that everyone's been through in all those lifetimes. Something else is possible now. And I think it's our openness to the greater realities that make something new possible.
Do you think that they, the unseen or the seen, they have a hand in making these possibilities, or we're coming in as a consciousness into a greater awareness that now we can kind of have our vibration where we can have some more interaction?
That's a really intelligent question. Thank you. I don't usually get that kind of level of intelligence.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't.
Oh, you might get a few zingers in there, and you might get some basic ones.
I'm happy to talk about that because that's exactly what the book is about. It's about both those things. It's about
Yeah.
they are waiting, is my opinion, waiting for us to wake up, and the vibration of the planet and human consciousness is shifting, because I think everything is shifting. I think the vibration of physical matter is shifting, right? Everything is getting quicker. So it is both of those things. We're being assisted to wake up, and the world is coming together to lift us to these higher, more expanded states. I guess that's what I would say. So, yeah.
No, that's and for those who just were wondering what I just asked, I think it's great that, you know, we have a whole level of audience here, and some people are just, they see UFO and they see a book cover and they immediately go into fear and panic and worry and concern. And there's other people who look at your book and they're like, finally, we're talking about this in a more open manner. And obviously there's more of those because the book's doing so well and it's appealing to people. And, you know, you're associated with high profile figures who are also in resonance. So there's something at play here. And that's what's so wonderful, that we can have, I think, now these open discussions without feeling like we're going to get shut down or something crazy.
Well, isn't it time? I mean, how long can the government lie and say, no, we're all alone, life is an accident? And I think life, consciousness, is an emergent property of existence. And we've been dumbed down to think, you know, and then put into survival mode. And people never have a chance to think about the bigger picture. And then suddenly somebody comes along and says, guess what, there's more. And most people just can't deal with it. They're looking through the world like this. And I'm saying, no, take off the blinders, look at the bigger world, the bigger ecology, I would say, to know that there's nothing to fear. We're part of a benevolent universe.
I love that.
Pronoia, you know that term, pronoia, that the belief that life is for you as opposed to paranoia. Pronoia.
Well, I love that. You know, I'm thinking about some of my friends, particularly one. She, you know, she's a doctor, and she her whole platform is Stargates. And she, you know, discovers Stargates. She studies Stargates. Everything is about the Stargates. And I think that's, you know, when you think about just the show Stargate, if someone wants to look at that, you know, was that true? And, you know, I've been in Hollywood in a very long time. And, you know, I think you can affirm or confirm that, you know, I think that's always, everything's moving through Hollywood or through, you know, through TV. So they get us a little adjusted and accustomed to. So when things really come into real life, it's not so much of a shock.
Well, you know, I think that is good and bad. I'll tell you, and I'd like to know your opinion.
Okay.
So here's this government coming forward saying, yes, UFOs are possible or real. And I immediately say, this is some kind of B-graded sci-fi movie. Like, the UFOs are real. And that kind of is my conditioning, and a lot of our conditioning in this social, cultural program society. And it's nothing to do with science fiction. But my immediately go-to response, even though I'm so into it, is like, oh, it's science fiction, it's weird, but I'm into it. So it's like I have to overcome my cultural prejudice and say, this is the unknown. This is not a movie.
Yeah.
This is a reality that we have yet to embrace, and it's nothing like anything we've known. It's nothing like the known. It is the unknown. So people are usually afraid of the unknown because they project the known onto the unknown. And I see the unknown as full of possibilities, technologies, adventure, renaissance of human thought. This is how I see the unknown, because it's not fear. We can't fear something we don't know. You can only fear something that you know. So let's meet the unknown with an open mind, you know, with a, you know, speaking
I love that.
Speaking of quotes, one of my favorite quotes in my book is from Rilke. You know the German poet Rilke,
Yeah.
and do you know the Letters to the Young Poet, that famous collection of writings? Let me see if I can find that. He says, and this is one of my favorite quotes, and page 31 somewhere. He says, "We must accept our reality as vastly as we possibly can. Everything, even the unprecedented," which is what we're talking about, "must be possible within it. This is, in the end, the only courage that is required of us, the courage to face the strangest, most unusual, most inexplicable experiences that can meet us." And he goes on to say, the fact that we haven't done that has done infinite harm to the senses that would be able to grasp this unseen reality. It's atrophied these sense awareness. So we have to keep walking into the unknown, because that's the adventure.
But yes, and I think it's important to state that we keep saying these unknown realities, and your book brought to surface and brought to light several stories of known realities, experienced realities. So I think that's what's so telling. I mean, I have it in big black letters on my note sheet. The information supplied in this present volume comes from direct observation and experience. So that really takes it to a whole nother level of, yes, it's unknown realities of what's to come. And I love your positive perspective. I always like to look at everything like that as well. But your book sheds light on ways that I think people need to see.
But even the people who've had experiences are limited to interpret those experiences by cultural factors, right? So, maybe 100 or 200 years ago, they thought little fairies were taking them, or witches, and now we're at another level where maybe they're ETs, but maybe they're not even ETs. Maybe whatever is really happening is a bigger part of the mystery that we're labeling as something. I go into that in my book. Like, you call something a UFO, for instance, you see something, you're calling it an unidentified, you're identifying it as unidentified, thinking you know what that is. Well, we don't know what that is. If you're calling it unidentified, but it doesn't mean it's not of the worldly. I'm just saying we don't have clear terminologies for these other levels of mystical experiences. And that is what I'm trying to talk about in terms of these intersecting realities that are happening around us and to us.
I made a note in what I put in quotes, socially conditioned skepticism.
Yes.
Which I think is pervasive. And in my mind, I lived in New Mexico for 15 years, and I would say socially conditioned understanding, not skepticism, because it was so common. It felt in our mind's eye when we looked up at the sky what we were seeing. But I don't think anywhere else people would say that that was the same.
Well, we're so conditioned to believe this very small little frame of reality that I think we have to keep pushing the envelope of what's possible, what's real, what is creative. Creativity, I think, is the key to a new discovery of this unknown reality. And that's, exciting.
No. So let's go back a little bit and let's talk about your firsthand adventures. You say you had alien contact in 1987. Yeah. And here we are in 2021. So you've been doing this for a minute. And this book is a collection of essays, and maybe explain more what the book is, and we can talk about it. I mean, you talk about everything from forced abduction to crop circles. So we've got a wide palette here in the next little while.
Yes, it's all the mystery. And I tried to arrange these essays in an order, as kind of sequential order, like a narrative, like an arc, And the arc is, we start out with just like the nuts and bolts. and then we go deeper into more technology and the interface between technology and like science fiction telepathy or teleportation and those things. And we go deeper into I start out with investigators, just looking at the hardware. Then you go to researchers. These are my labels. They could be interchanged. Researchers talk about how people have interacted with this phenomena, like John Mack. Did you know who John Mack is?
Mm-mm.
He
Who's
was
John
a
Mack?
Harvard psychiatrist that started to investigate
Yeah. Yes.
this phenomena, and
Yes.
Harvard said, you can't say that
Way back.
because, right, in the 90s. And then you go from people like John Mack and Linda Moulton Howe to the experiencers, to people who said, well, this is my experience. Like Whitley Strieber, you know, Whitley Strieber, the
Yes.
guy who wrote the best-selling book, Communion. So,
Of course.
and that's where I talk about my experience, because I'm not sure about what happened to me, but it fits the stories of other people being taken and some childhood trauma. I mean, maybe everyone's afraid of the dark. I don't know. But I always had to sleep with the lights on and the radio playing in order to feel safe growing up. So I don't know. And then strange dreams, being pulled out of my body, like at 14 or something. I felt like I was being yanked out, like separate. I mean, it was very unpleasant. So I don't know if that is just strange mystical experience or UFO related, ET related, but it does follow a pattern that other people talk about. That's why I think it's good people talk about their experiences, because other people can find a place that their experiences start to make sense to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's all about making sense of the world. I mean, I think people write books because this is like how they see the world. But I wanted a collection of people because nobody has the answers to this puzzle. It's like, you know, it's like everyone has a piece of the elephant, but they haven't put it together to make the elephant. They just have the pieces. And then it's up to the reader to say, oh, maybe this is what's going on. But we're at the threshold of a new time where I think new revelations are coming. And we're waiting for the government. Not that the government has to okay our personal experiences, but they do officiate over this standard reality.
Well, I know that we've been talking about this word disclosure for some time now. And I'm not sure who came up with that word, but I think that's the word of when are they actually going to share what it seems to be that many people already have known or experienced. And I just remember it felt like, I don't know, maybe 2017, that it was like, this was going to be the year of disclosure.
It was the year of disclosure.
What,
I mean,
that was the year? Yeah.
Well,
I just feel like I'm like trying to like, when did it feel like, and that's the number that came in.
No. In December 16th, 2017, front page of the New York Times, that changed the narrative. It said Senator Harry Reid gave $22 million to the research this UFO UAP phenomena. It was right there. And so that was a breakthrough. And the government has now admitted, yes, they are studying that. And that is a big change from what happened before 2017, from 1947, when the Roswell crash was saying, yeah, flying saucer crash. And then it was totally denied for the next, 70 years. So we've kind of in a new territory where the government's saying, yes, they are real. Have you seen the 60 Minutes cover story about this? It says, Bill Whitaker, one of the reporters for the 60 Minutes, asked this guy who worked for the Pentagon, Luis Elizondo. Have you heard that name, Elizondo?
Mm-hmm.
He is at the center of the disclosure movement. He is the guy who's saying there's something going on and the public needs to know. So Bill Whitaker from 60 Minutes says to Elizondo, so tell me, are these UFOs real? And Elizondo says, come on, Bill, we're already past this point. The government has admitted this is real. So that's a form of disclosure. They're disclosing. So what are we waiting for? I think we're waiting for the shock
They're waiting for the press conference, and there's
Yeah.
a hybrid of somebody sitting there or
Those
something
things,
like really real.
but also the shock, like, oh my God, this is what we've been looking for. Is it did they really say this is real? It's like even the people in the field are adjusting to, instead of pushing for it, they finally got what they were looking for, and they said, oh my God, is this what we're looking for? And so there's another process, I think, that people are shifting from a pre-disclosure world to this post-disclosure world, where now we're looking for, yes, like you said, confirmation. Roll out the ships, give us the bodies, give us the technology. And I think that's what we've come up against. I think the technology, and of course some Christian fundamentalists don't want this information out there. I mean, because obviously whatever these things are not filling up their gas tank to get here, right? They are using a different technology.
Right.
Not propulsion. I mean, the propulsion began with Newton in the 1600s, and we're still using a form of thermodynamics, which is only one law of physics. And quantum physics, I think, gets us closer to how these things operate, but we don't understand quantum physics in practicality. We only
not at that level. I mean, I have to say, you brought, first off, when I read that, I thought George Norrie was going to just do a little opening of your book, but for him to really share that whole story and his whole backstory, there were so many things I didn't even know where his fascination and how things came.
Right. The UFO thing got George Norrie into everything he's doing now. Yes.
Had no idea. And I have to say, and it's not a segue from your book because he's kind of sandwiched in, but one of the most inspiring interviews he did, of course, again, reminds me of Stargate, was that when he had a young, I guess he was a grown up at that point, whistleblower, and he was a young boy, and he was part of the Stargate program, and he was teleporting from DC to Los Alamos.
Really? Who was that?
Oh, it was unbelievable. I don't know, but I don't remember his name. But I have tried for years to track down that interview that I would love to show people that he was the young kid and he was part of these several kids and they were part of going back and forth. And the whole thing was like, oh, it's real.
I don't know. Just because someone says it doesn't mean it's real.
That's true. But boy, it felt real inside of me. I was like, I would love to have seen that. But the way he explained it.
Teleportation. I mean, when I talked to Hal Puthoff, he says they've been able to teleport properties of atoms faster than the speed of light. And properties are the things that make something different from something else. So I think they're very well along in that. And portals, I mean, have you talked to Grant Cameron as an interview?
No.
He says portals are much more important than these ships. That is what the government is working on, portal technology. Have you heard of Grant? He's in my book, actually.
I will be looking him up.
He's a great guy.
All fascination conversations.
Grant.
The sun. I'm trying to avoid the sun. It's not going to happen.
No, it looks okay on your face.
Okay.
I wish it was sunny here. Anyway.
Florida, 100 degrees all the time.
And you can't go swimming. That's the problem about those islands. Aren't there alligators over there and like dangerous?
No.
I thought there were around Sanibel.
Well, there are some alligators. In fact, we have alligators that live on our pond here, but
you don't want to swim with them, do you?
No, I don't want to swim with them.
All right. But anyway, I'm happy have you had an experience? I don't mean to turn the tables on you, but because people I find who really are curious about it have had some experience.
Well, I feel like you in a way. I can't be completely defining it, but I know that I've had dreams through the years where things have happened and I felt things and feel like I've seen things and my body does certain reactions to things out of dreams. So I don't know. But I do know that I've always been fascinated with this subject matter. I feel that people come to my show are definitely, Fire in the Sky, the director, but the documentary.
Jennifer Stein.
She's been on the show, with the documentary. It just seems like through the years they find their way to me. And here I am interviewing you.
Well, that's why I said I thought your Zeta Global Radio was about Zeta Reticuli, but I guess it's not.
So explain what that is for people who don't know what that is. I'm
All
going
right,
to
it
try
goes
to
back to
adjust.
1961 when the Betty and Barney Hill, you know who Betty and Barney Hill were? They were the first really, I wouldn't say celebrated, but well-known couple who were supposedly abducted by aliens. They were not looking for publicity. They were interracial. They were in the 60s. They were not looking for like high profile. They wanted to just, keep their things to themselves, but they were taken, and there's actually a plaque outside of Lincoln, New Hampshire, that says this is the spot where Betty and Barney Hill were taken by aliens. It's actually a state plaque there on Route 3 in New Hampshire. So they were taken, and they were didn't know what happened to them. There was missing time, and later they were hypnotized by a guy named Benjamin Simon, a therapist who worked with people from battle fatigue, trauma, when you're from World War II, there's a lot of soldiers returning from World War II and still who were traumatized by what they saw, what happened. And he would hypnotize them back to the point of the trauma, and they would help clear the trauma if you can become more conscious of it so you don't disassociate, because trauma, you want to disassociate, you want to say it didn't happen, so you block it out, but there's still the effects of the trauma in the body, because as a book,
right,
the body keeps score. Anyway, they were regressed by Benjamin Simon. This guy said this Benjamin Simon said these two people were more traumatized than anyone who'd seen hard combat in war, and they were just driving home. They were just driving from Montreal to Portsmouth, New Hampshire. But anyway, they were missing 4 hours, and they started to have nightmares. And so they were regressed back to this, and they're screaming, and they're seeing these beings with the faces. And this was really a landmark case because they were some of the first to report what now probably hundreds of thousands of people have experienced. When Whitley Strieber wrote his book Communion, he got 200,000 letters, him and his wife, saying this happened to me too. So anyway, in one of the regressions of Betty Hill, she was talking to these aliens, and she saw I think she asked these beings where they're from, and he showed them a star map, so she comes back during that regression and she says, oh yeah, they showed me a star map, and she draws out the star map from this hypnotic regression, and maybe it was, and so there were little stars and big stars, and there was the earth, and it was just kind of, and it wasn't until someone had looked at this, as astronomer had looked, Marjorie Fish, I think her name was Fisher, said, and took the coordinates and said, oh, these beings are from the star system Zeta Reticuli. That's an actual star system. And this is what the map showed that Betty Hill had seen. And so people now are meeting these, what is called Zetas. They're also the little grays with the big eyes, and they're known as Zeta Reticuli. So when you said your name was Zeta Global, I thought you meant the Zeta Reticuli Global radio station. So that's the story of the origins of the Zeta, which is big in the UFO circles.
That is a great story, and no one's ever mentioned that to me in all these years of doing this show.
Okay, well, there you go.
Wow, but it's a great story. People tell me a lot that Alpha Centauri is where all the beautiful, green, gorgeous people are. Is that so made up, or is that something that you've heard before?
No, I think it is made up, actually. There's so much of this that is actually made up. I mean, maybe it's not made up, but there's no way to prove if any of this is true. Maybe it's real. They said there were green, gorgeous people on Zeta.
Alpha Centaurians are, the most beautiful people in all the solar system.
I have not heard that. It sounds like it's made up, but it doesn't mean it's not real. It just means, there's a lot of stuff that's made up.
Well, you not only put this book together, you also contributed to it. Do you want to share about your contribution? I mean, I don't want to give away the book, but I want people to get the book.
I want to talk
but I
about,
want people to kind of get a depth of, like you said, there's a huge range in the story matter, in the storylines. And like you did, the way it was presented, it's like you were riding a wave of like bracing yourself, and then you're like, wow, there is, I see the positivity at the end of this. Like you said, greater technologies, higher intellect, maybe, ways to save humanity. I mean, you just kept going, and then in everybody would write, look at this perspective, which I really embraced.
Right. I mean, and thank you for saying that. It is a range of possibility this book presents, from, no, we're government, we can't reveal our secrets because what if the Russians get it, or state secrets, and that's an old paradigm. But I wanted to present this from one of the people who work for government, the UK Ministry of Defense, and saying, he calls himself the villain in the book. He says, I'm going to start this book, and it's the first chapter.
Yeah, I remember. I was in the beginning.
Nick Pope. And he says at the because he says
he stirs the pot, or in his mind, he stirs the pot.
From the beginning, every story needs a villain. And when it comes to the story of UFOs, the role of that villain is usually taken by the government. This guy's a government insider. And he says there's good reasons why the government doesn't tell their secrets. And I don't agree with that, but I put it in there anyway, because there are people who do agree. But I don't think there's a good reason to lie. It may upset people, but let's face the fact that we are now one world. We're so connected. Someone gets a flu in China and the whole world wears a mask. How more connected could we be than what we've just witnessed the last 2 years? I mean, that was a worldwide phenomenon. We are one planet. We are one humanity. I mean, there's these divisions, but my favorite song is Imagine, right? So
of course.
And so that's our anthem. So let's forget about these secrets that governments have with each other, because it's just a game. And the nuclear missile problem is one of the reasons the ETs are here. They've been seen over nuclear missile silos turning off the nuclear code. So, and that actually has alerted them. I mean, it's interesting where the first site, New Mexico there, right in Roswell, is right where the earliest, I think, the Trinity test site, the first atomic bombs were blown up in New Mexico. So they arrived in New Mexico because it was like saying, we better check out what's going on. The teenagers have the car keys, right? We got
right. So I'm from LA originally. Right. And something drew me to New Mexico, and I was there 15 years.
Right.
And all of this was at the top of my interest.
Well, New Mexico is like, I had, did I have one or two sightings? I had at least had one sighting of a UFO in New Mexico, one in Arizona. I've seen, my abduction, my story there in that book is, I was driving cross country, and my abduction took place in western Nebraska on the border of, I think, Wyoming, off of Route 80. I mean, a place you'd never really want to stop, but we were tired, me and my girlfriend. We pulled over the side of the road, and we just had this, we felt like we were, after falling asleep, we felt like we were suspended animation. We were like frozen, not just in space, but in time. It's like, it was a really strange sort of sensation to wait. We woke up in the same position we went to bed in, and who even remembers that? Do you remember how you went? No, I didn't, but that was so weird. It's like we were taken out of a time space continuum and brought into another one, and then put back from where we came. So my theory about all this is that these ETs do not exist in our reality. They can come and go and interface because there is a physicality to them, but reality, in my opinion, is generated by consciousness. So if your consciousness is different or vibing at a different level, you'll actually exist in a different physical space. and you could lower that in order to interact with this physical space. But and that's what's so traumatic. It's not that they're negative or evil. Maybe there are some that are, but the fact that they are of a different frequency, I think, is why people can't maintain lucidity in the face of this contact experience.
Well, and also they've been made out to be all horrific. I mean, District 9, and they're
Right.
not all ETs.
I love
I'd love them to
9.
all be avatars, but they're not.
Right. Right. They're not all average. But but also, yes, that's the cultural program. But just meeting some of these beings that don't have any emotion the way we have emotion, like I'm looking at your face, I could kind of feel what you're feeling, and you're feeling what I'm feeling, because we're human. But imagine how traumatic it is if you meet people or anybody who they're just blank. There's nothing you could read off. There is trauma in that, because we're so used. I mean, by the time we're 6 hours old, we're already mimicking the faces of people around us, the nurses, your mother, your father, and we're feeling, and we're encoding those feelings as a social reality. And when that doesn't exist, it's like, oh my God, what's going on here? That's traumatic. And then there's the vibration that's traumatic. And then, maybe there's the telepathy actually is what is common theme throughout all those chapters in the book, except the first one where he's just talking about hardware. But telepathy is a higher form of communication. And this is what we're graduating into. I teach remote viewing. You know what remote viewing is?
Yes, of course I do. And I remember someone who used to, yes. I'm not even going to tell my story, but yes.
Tell your story. No, tell your story.
No, I just remember I dated someone a while back, and it was so clear that he was so good at remote viewing, and I had to shut it down. He's like, yeah, you're wearing the pink socks. I'm like, that is just freaky deaky.
That's great. That is really
but
good.
yeah, you probably know the person, so I'm not even going to mention him.
Probably
sort of famous.
Tell me off the air.
He has some notoriety. But I just think that so let's talk about that remote viewing, because I think that's important. And I saw that that's what you teach, and I do feel that telepathy is important. I was thinking about the 3 days of darkness everyone talked about. I'm always saying we got to hone the telepathy. I mean, I'm a 4th generation intuitive. I know telepathy really well, but I would love your input, especially as someone who teaches remote viewing.
Well, the theory is, and I think this is related to ET stuff, is that
sorry.
No, it's okay. That our awareness, our consciousness is non-local. It's like your brain is a receiver. Mm-hmm. Like a radio receiver. If you open the radio, you're not going to find the announcer in the radio. It's picking up a signal. So, our brain, the hardware, is picking up the signal of consciousness. Yes. And so if we're not the hardware, we're the non-local signal, and that exists beyond time and space. So you could send and receive your projections of your mind anywhere you want to send it, beyond time and space. And I teach this, how to do that, which is really something you can't teach. You just have to make yourself. It's about receiving. It's not about doing. It's about not doing. And I find beginners are really good at that, because you just say, be yourself, be empty, and see what I have. This target in this envelope. Tell me what you're seeing. Or there's these coordinates. I give people coordinates, or, I'm looking at a picture. And so the signal is non-local. The problem comes in is when the signal gets confused with the noise.
Do you think ETs remote view us?
I think they do that and more. I think not always, but I think they're sending thoughts and realities if we would just open our minds to receive it. And many people do. The last 3 chapters in my book are about people who open up their minds to get this telepathic download. So yes, I think they do. I think that is the language of the universe. Absolutely. I'm sure you're intuitive. You could pick that up. I mean, do you ever get that? You ever get
Yeah.
You get ET downloads?
Well, I don't know if I get ET downloads, but I I do get images, and I do get other languages that aren't human.
Well, there you go. That's it. You are. So the more people that get that kind of stuff, and the more we talk about it, you see, part of the government coming forward is let's roll all this stuff out. Let's put it on the table. Let's talk about all of it. It is time we had an open conversation about what is possible for the human being, right?
No question.
Put it
I
out
had in my notes. It said, "What if the human race is exactly an outpost colony of an advanced alien race?" I mean, I really had to think about that for a second. I'm like, what if?
Well, I don't say what if. I say absolutely. I say we are so different than the animals here. We are aliens in animal bodies. We are look what we do. We build houses, we build, things and toys. And are there other animals that do that? Well, maybe anthills build. No, but we're different. We are the embodiment of an alien consciousness, and we've been fooled to think that somehow we're came from apes. I'm not saying there isn't evolution. There is the body has evolved, but the consciousness, I don't think evolved. I think it descended from a higher realm. So we are a mixture of the evolving primates, and some people call the Anunnaki the gods that helped upgrade the consciousness.
The tall ones.
The what? Tall
ones.
Yes, or whatever you want to call them. The fallen angel, whatever, whatever they are. So we are that.
Is there any, when you were putting this collaboration together for this book, was there any story in there that surprised you? Was there anything that just kind of, even for you,
yes,
doing this a little bit, and you've met a lot of people and you've experienced, was there anything that you got that went, wow, this is new level understanding for me?
Well, yes. Thank you for asking that question. I haven't gotten that question. I've done like hundreds of interviews, but
I know. See, I knew you'd get a few new ones from me.
I know, and I appreciate that. It's like, do you know who Daryl Anka? He channels the being Bashar.
No. What's his name?
Bashar is this extraterrestrial being from the future, and Daryl goes into a trance, and Bashar comes through and gives these pretty amazing messages. But so Daryl is out of the way. He had seen a UFO once, and then he started this telepathic download. So Bashar takes over Daryl's body, but Daryl's actually evolving too. And I think he says Bashar is a future self of him who lives 300 years in the future, and Bashar is a first contact specialist. And actually, Daryl made a movie called First Contact. So Daryl wanted to meet Bashar. He wanted to see him in person instead of just channeling. He wanted to see who he was. And he had a dream. And these things come to you in dreams, and they're not dreams. I mean, I'm sure you've had dreams you've never forgotten, right? Those are not dreams. Those are alternate realities that we call dreams because our vocabulary is not very sophisticated in understanding this phenomenon. Anyway, Daryl has this dream where Bashar's ship lands, and Bashar starts to walk towards him, and Daryl starts to panic because he feels his personality, his sense of self is just dissolving. It's like it's just evaporating in the face of this bigger energy field, in the face of this bigger being, this more advanced being. And I say that doesn't have to happen if you practice lucid awareness. I mean, if you can practice being present no matter what, that doesn't have to happen. But anyway, I don't know anyone who's that practiced, except maybe Whitley Strieber. He's pretty practiced in the presence of these other beings. But yeah, to hear the fact that Daryl's been channeling this being for almost 40 years and being in the presence of this huge energy field sort of freaked him out. That was surprising. That was a little...
Wow.
Isn't that...
Wow, you're good at dinner parties. I could just sit here and listen to you for days.
Well, it's like the book. Like, read the book is like
the
a big...
book's phenomenal.
We should have a marathon reading, yes.
I just lost my train of thought. It was something there. Well, I teach a class on ascended masters and archangels, and I just interviewed. Do you know Marius Michael George, the artist who paints? He's kind of quintessential in painting all our ascended masters. Most people use
Marius. Oh, Marius.
Marius.
He's been around a long time, right?
Been around a long time.
I think I
interviewed him recently, and I was just saying, wow, to be able to, I see them, I feel them, I teach about them, but it was just when you were saying that, it was like, wow, to really be in the presence of some of these higher realms.
Actually, send me Marius's number. I'd like to interview him or put him on a panel. Or
yeah, he's iconic. I mean, when someone says, what does Archangel Michael look like, or what is Jesus or Sananda, they're usually his paintings.
Right. No, I want to. Yeah, I'd like to interview him for my YouTube channel. But do you know did you see the exhibit of Hilma af Klint? Hilma af Klint, Klint. She was a Swedish artist who channeled these ascended masters, and she painted these huge canvases. There was a show about her at the Guggenheim Museum.
I lived in Sweden. You're touching on all the right buttons here,
Well,
Alan.
yes. Sweden has a long history of UFOs, and
I lived on an island there too, very remote. Had some
crazy experiences. Which island did you live on?
Oh, people don't know it was a military island. You had to know someone to live on the island. It was about 2 hours north of Stockholm.
Really?
I got some great stories of my experiences in Sweden, and then 30 years later, my daughter ended up living in Sweden. Crazy stories. But but I'm very fascinated. It's funny that you would say that there's a history there. It has such presence of outer worldly beings in the forests and the trees and the skies there. And I didn't really make that connection until you just said that.
Yeah, there is an otherworldliness, and they have a huge history in the northern European countries of that. Foo Fighters, I think they were called over Sweden in World War II, these strange lights that would come and go. So
I'm going to show someone's comment here, and I want to just show you.
Yes.
Actually, this woman is a 11-time award, probably more than that. She wrote the whole, kind of like you, a collection of essays. She wrote a collection of essays about chimpanzees. But Deborah Rosenman, hi Deborah, fascinating. He speaks truth. I had a direct experience with a ship in New Hampshire in 1973.
New Hampshire, like where Betty and Barney Hill was, there are hot spots, and maybe it's about Earth vortexes or something like that attract these ships to certain energy ley lines. But thank you for saying I speak truth. I'm not even saying I'm speaking truth. I'm just saying I'm speaking about the research, and I don't know what's true. I know that there's something out there. I know there are beings that interface with our consciousness that are not human. I don't know. I mean, the book is an exploration. The subject is an exploration. Nobody has the whole answer at this level of our civilization's evolution. We can only guess at the bigger dimensions that actually, I have to say, we've been dumbed down. We've been taught to doubt our own minds. And when you have a telepath, well, you maybe haven't because you're an empath, but most people doubt their intuitive sense of self because they say they're crazy. They don't, but we have to overcome those opinions because
that's a socially conditioned skepticism, you said, and the programming.
Yes, because there only is subjective truth. There is no objective truth. This is what quantum physics says. Yeah. There is no other reality than what you know. There might be, but we need to wake up to what else there is. So that's why I wrote this book, as a way of waking up to some larger realities.
It's so well done. I see why you're winning a lot of accolades for it. Yeah. You. I was reading one of the stories at the end. I don't think I noticed it, but it was about forced abductees. But it says this is manifested for many abductees as higher intelligence. We talked about that. increased creativity, psychic development, and healing powers. Do you ever see somebody iconic in the world and in your journey, and you look at them and you're like, I wonder? I mean, because sometimes I look at them, I'm like, wow, I think they're either a walk-in or they've just made some higher realm connections, because it just seems like I almost can feel that they're just not, that they've received some of these higher realm gifts.
Well, actually, I'm doing a whole conference this weekend on hybrids and walk-ins and starseeds. So put this in the chat if you want. It's portal2ascension.org.
Okay, let me do this for everyone who's listening and who will be listening.
Let me just find portal2ascension.org. Let me just actually find I'll put it in. And it is the hybrid conference, but we just also did a walk-in conference, and we're going to do a starseed conference coming up. So,
whoops, okay. You might need to correct the spelling. I did it quickly. Portal2ascension.com.
Portal2ascension.
Yeah, I'll correct that.
.org. Portal2ascension.org. Let me just.
Is it .org?
Org, yes. Portal2ascension.org. Let me just. Here, I'm going to just put this.
This weekend you're doing it.
I'm doing this. Do you see it? Did it come up?
You probably put it in the private chat.
Here's the private chat.
Yeah, now I want to put it in the.
Okay, can I put something in the comment section?
You sure can. There's a public one here.
I don't see.
You might not see it, but I just switched it over. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's there. Portal2ascension.org, upcoming webinars. Okay,
yeah.
Now.
So yeah, I mean, there are people like. So your question was, do I ever see someone who I think it and. There's a woman named Marina Serin, and I interview her on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/newrealities. She is not from here. She looks like she is from. And actually, Carolyn Corey, who's in the last chapter of this book, she talks about merging with these beings. And I think a lot of us have been upgraded, and that's why we don't seem to fit in here. Like, there's one in every family, like the black sheep, or like us, right? It's like, your family, they're very nice people, very normal. My family, very good people. They're hardworking, and they're interested in baseball, and I'm interested in Zeta Reticuli. I mean, what do we talk? I mean,
it's true. It's hard to find right people to have the certain conversations. Like the first question I start off with, you're not used to hearing that. There's people have said there's certain interviews where they're going to ask certain questions, and then there's other people who are so ready to get the nourishment, and there are people here who seek it. And so, I'm just being a channel for those people.
And I appreciate that. I mean, there are people though who, I do have discernment. There are people who are really out there in this field.
Yeah.
I try to be on the edge, not over the edge. I'm not saying their experiences aren't true, but I feel like I need to be a bridge. Like this book, there's some out there stuff in here, like Linda Moulton Howard says, there are 3 competing extraterrestrial races fighting for control of the earth. That may be true. I mean, she heard that from a whistleblower, so there's no reason to doubt that, but I don't know what to do with that information. I just try, there are grays, reptilians, all that here.
Yes.
But there are levels of other realities that we have just been dumbed down not to notice. And I'm saying, let's wake up and smell the coffee. Let's say something else is going on here.
Here's a little note, I think, from, I know this lovely lady as well. I was first introduced to Alan through Saturday Night Alive, the Global Peace Tribe. Such a delight to listen to this fabulous interview. Thank you, Alan and Lainey, for a great show. Thank you, Kat. She's an amazing cosmic being. She actually recorded a wonderful track on one of my albums for a record company. Great woman. You see, you do have a great fan base. Remind me of the woman at the Guggenheim, the Swede. I gotta look that up.
Hilma, Hilma. She's a Swedish artist from the early 1900s. AF is AF, and that's a kind of Clint, Klint. I actually wrote an article because I was so like overwhelmed with the fact that the Guggenheim was showing paintings that were channeled by ascended masters at this mainstream art institution. It's like, what? This is where it's like, and it was one of the most popular sold out shows the Guggenheim ever had
Wow.
in New York. Helma, look up. And she didn't
I
even
will.
know what was coming through her. She was part of the Rosicrucians, the Theosophy from the early 1900s. So they would meditate, and she would say her paintbrush was being directed by these masters. So I'll send you my article actually, but getting back to Kate, ask her if she got my book. I'm just curious.
Oh, Kat, Kat, do you have her? Do you have Alan's book? Because if not, I know you're going to want it. So go ahead and put that there. We do have a link. We have a link.
Tell people to write a review on Amazon, because this way I gain. I mean, if they like it. If you don't like the book, don't write a review.
Oh well, I'm going to certainly do it. Yes, Kat. Yeah, you need to do that. So I can't believe we're almost at the end of our interview. I didn't even get to getting it in the mail soon, she says.
Oh, great. Let me know what you think. You could give her my email, or you can just... Actually, everyone can have my email. You can put my email in the chat. I always like to get
You're
comment.
terrific. Well, we're Facebook friends. So I have one last quote.
Yes.
And there were, I mean, I didn't even get to like so many, because we'll have to do this again, I think, in a few months.
At some point.
Really? Anytime. Okay, that would be great.
Absolutely.
So this is from Lauren Isley. Is I'm saying that right? The men's
right. Yeah, the art. He was an art, not an art, science historian. Yeah, he's great. Yes.
Down how many roads among the stars must men propel himself in search of the final secret? The journey is difficult, immense, at times impossible, yet that will not deter some of us from attempting it.
Right. His book is called The Immense Journey, because what are we supposed to do here, incarnated into these forms, except explore? We're not here to survive. Survival should, I'm not saying we're not here not to survive, but survival should be the baseline. That's like, we've come here to enjoy. We come here to explore. We come here to create. So that's the goal, the role of incarnation. We've been made to survive by forces that have distorted the value of existence, but we're here on the immense journey. The immense journey is the discovery of who we are in the face of the unknown. And I don't think it gets more exciting than that. And the ETs themselves, whatever those things are, whatever's out there, are now coming into our range of understanding, opening up a whole other level of reality that is like, boom, it's like, the egg is open, and like suddenly, there's something bigger that we never suspected. And so it's here waiting for our discovery.
So it is.
It is.
Thank you. This was... I don't even feel like, I could go on. I want whatever you want to finish up with is totally up to you. Anything
I just want to say thank you for your intelligent questions and really tuning into what this whole thing is about.
Oh, you're welcome. My honor.
And trying to, this is what I like to do in interviews, is discover together what these things are, what's going on. Who are we? Who are we? Who are we really? Why are we here? What's the nature of existence? And it's not what we've been told in our religion, our media, our government, education. Do you hear the background sound?
Yeah.
Bunch of kids back there.
I love it.
They're finding out.
I know you're on the press circuit with this book. Do you have plans? Like, you probably have many plans. You're already doing something this weekend. I don't think you stop. But is there another bigger plan in the plan?
Yes, in September, I'm doing a big book event in New York City. People can email me, and then let's see what else. Oh, I'm doing, Open Center. Yes, I'm doing a talk with Deepak Chopra at the Open Center that you should definitely tell your readers or listeners about.
Okay.
Let me just put that in the chat so people can sign up for this, because Deepak comes from quite a scientific sort of background, and Here, I'm going to just put this in the chat. I'm going to see what chat. What I do with the chat? What I
Oh, put it in private chat and I'll move it over. I'm excited. This is
Let
with
me see.
Deepak in September.
Yes, no, it's coming up next week actually. So
Oh,
here.
oh
So
yeah, we need
it's
to know about this now.
July 27th.
Okay.
Me and Deepak in dialogue at the Open Center. If you register for this course, you get a free book, actually. Oh, and the promo code to register for a discount. Promo code is my name, ALANST. So you get that a discount if you register. Use the promo code ALANST.
Okay, I posted it, and that's going on YouTube as well as the Facebook and everywhere else this is going to go.
Yes. Great. Well, thank you, Ivan. Let's do it again. And on our next show, let's talk about remote viewing and what that means.
I would love that. A whole thing. I would love to talk about walk-ins, remote viewing, the whole.
Well, why don't you? Do you want to come on and my guest this weekend on the hybrid conference?
I would love to. It'd be an honor.
Send me an email. I'll try to get you a guest online thing, and you can come and go as much as you want. You know.
Okay.
All
Alan, thank you. Thank you for everyone listening. Please share this interview far and wide. It's so important. Get this book. There's an Amazon link. We'll put it here again. Really, really wonderful work. Thank you for being the way shower, one of the way showers, and showing the way showers, way showers.
Well, there was a way to show. I'd like to show it, but I don't know what there is no way.
I know there's not one way, but we know we're all part of one oneness thing that we're all trying to figure out together.
But with the ETs, the oneness just got bigger.
True. Okay. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks for that.
Appreciate you. Thanks, Alan. Alan, stick around 1 second while I end this. Thanks everyone. God bless. Another show. Actually, we'll have not Linda Moulton Howe, but Linda Howe, who's renowned in the Akashic Records. She'll be our guest for August. So
Linda Moulton Howe always gets upset when she hears about Linda Howe.
I'm sure. Well, funny enough, I interviewed Jonathan Goldman, and there's another the iconic Jonathan Goldman sound healer last month. And there's another Jonathan Goldman, and oh my gosh, everyone who's got these names, I bet that's
I know. Well, yeah, Linda is one of my favorite. Linda Moulton Howe is one of my favorite, and she's in this book. And she is I think she is the top of the line of UFO investigators. And, it's a field of pretty much all men, and she's at the top.
Yeah, that's true. Well, there's only one Alan Steinfeld.
Well, there actually is someone who's in like in London in some court system. I sometimes get, I've had my name on Google Alerts, and sometimes I get an alert for some, I don't know, he's some kind of justice or judge or something. Anyway, there's only one of us. Okay.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. Lots of love to you. Thanks everyone. Take care.
Thanks.